Greetings. Welcome to this week's DigiScrap layout. I'm Anita with beandesigns.com. Thank you for watching this video and sharing in my journey. I'm really excited about sharing how I created the layout for this video. It is a title page of an album featuring a paper cutout for the title. So let's get started. Let's open our new image. Go to File, New, 3600 by 3600, Advanced Options, 300 pixels per inch, and push OK. So here is our new canvas. I'm going to need some background papers and some elements here. So let's pull in these two papers. One, two, and I'm going to use these photo prongs in this brad. And let's get us a photo on this page. I'm going to use this photo right there. Okay. Let's go ahead and scale our photo down. So our photo is our active layer. Choose our scale tool. I'm going to click on that layer. Our menu box does appear. It shows that our current photo is 7952 pixels by 5304 pixels. The link to keep the perspective is locked. You can unlock it or lock it. I want to keep my perspective. I'm going to make my width 2400. It will automatically choose a height. I'm going to push scale to apply that. And you see that it has scaled it, and just a tiny bit of the photo has remained on our canvas. So let us zoom out so we can see that the remaining portion of our photo, it is available, it's just not on our canvas. Our canvas is the brown area. The white area surrounding our canvas is not our canvas. We can cause this to be viewed so that we can see what's outside our canvas area by going to View, Show All. Now we can see what's outside of our canvas. I'm going to push the M on my keyboard to get the Move tool and drag my photo back onto my canvas. Now we can zoom back out. Excellent. Our next step is going to be taking a look at, we're going to cut the blue mat. The blue mat is going to be under our title, square, and the photo. And it needs to be a square that is 2600 by 2600 pixels. So let's get our rectangular select tool. I'm going to turn off the feathering and the rounding. And let's draw a square on our blue paper. Over in the tool options, it gives you the size. So currently it is 2680. And so I'm going to make that 2600 by 2600. And then that's the size. We could alternatively have grabbed, see how these handles appear when I hover over the edge, and I could grab and alter the size. So this is selecting the inside square, which is what we want. What we need to cut away is the outer part of our selection. So let's go to Select, Invert. Now we have selected the outer section. We're going to push the Delete key, go to Layer, Crop to Content. And now we have our square mat, our square blue mat. Let's cut our rectangular title. So we're going to go to the brown paper and duplicate that. And then I'm going to drag, relayer it to go above the blue mat. We need a rectangle again, so I'm going to use our select tool. I'm going to draw a rectangle. This needs to be 2400 wide. So I can go to my tool options and type in my number. I need it to be 2400 by 700. And that's our size that we need right there. I could place this square anywhere on the paper. It still has the same size. So anywhere on this paper that I would want to cut my label from, I can. I just left click into the square, the selection, and drag it at any location. Of course, this is the area we want, so we'll need to select and invert to cut away. Push the delete key, the outer edge of it, and then we'll crop to content. Now we can use our move tool and loosely place it into place. Let's actually get these three items in place. We're going to use guides to get this done. So we're going to do a new guide. I'm going to start with vertical guides. So the first one is when we cut the blue photo mat, we cut it at 2600 by 2600. Our entire canvas, our entire scrapbook page is 3600, so that leaves a 500 border on each side of the blue mat. So I want to make a vertical line at 500. Okay. Let's make a horizontal line at 500 as well. And that gives us a corner for us to place the blue paper. See right there? It's exactly 500 from the top and 500 pixels from the left edge. So let's get us a corner for our photo. I allowed for a 100 pixel border all the way around our photo. So let's go to image, go to guides, new guide, and we're going to make this one 600 horizontal and another one at vertical 600. So now we have two guides for our photo and we place that into place. So like I said, I allowed a 100 pixel border, so that means there's a 100 pixel border from the bottom of the brown paper to the edge of the blue paper. Blue paper is in place, but we need to get a placement for the brown paper. So we're going to create a guide at 3000. It's a horizontal guide for our brown border. Let's remove our guides. So we'll go to Image, Guide, Remove All Guides. When we pulled in our papers and our elements, I pulled in some photo prongs and a brad. So let's go ahead and put those in place. Right lower corner, right upper corner, left lower corner. And here is one brad. Let's go ahead and duplicate that. And put them in each corner of our title label here. Okay, let's take a look at this is what we're working on. So you see what we just did. We did our mat, we did our title label, got our photo size, we put on our prongs and our brads. Um, So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to work on this cutout. This is a really exciting thing for this page today. We're going to cut out these letters and then put in some dimension to look as we are looking through the cutout to the blue paper. So let me show you how we did this. We're going to go back to the one we're working on, and we're going to start by creating a text layer. So I'm going to use my text tool. I'm going to click on our canvas. I'm using Arial Bold at 650 pixels. I'm going to type JT. I'm sure you noticed that in the completed, I had a line in between. Let me show you what that line looks like. It's the shift of the backslash above the enter key. And when it's typed in, the top is level with the top of the other two letters, and I would prefer it to be centered between the two letters. So I'm not going to type it into our text right here. I'm going to just do the J and the T and leave a space for that vertical line. So let's do this. We're going to click out of the text tool. We're going to create a new layer, use our text tool, click on our space, and type in. And did you see what I just did? Instead of creating a new text layer, I actually clicked inside the current text layer. So let me choose a different layer, click somewhere else, type in my line. Now I have created a separate layer. That's what I wanted to do. See, and I typed an M on my keyboard. Okay, so let's get this. And so now I can place this vertical line exactly where I want it. I want some space below the letters and above the letters. So I like this spacing of the vertical line. I like the spacing between the J and the T. So now I'm happy with this. I'm going to go over to my layer palette. I'm going to make the JT layer active. I'm going to right click and I'm going to merge down. So now all of these three are together and can be manipulated at the same time. I cannot go back and change this as a text. Now it's no longer a text. But that's okay because I have everything I need. So we're going to once again use our guides for placement of this. We're going to use the new guide by percent. We're going to use a 50% to help us place our letter grouping in the center. So here we go. There's that. We can take that guide off now. And we have our JT lined up on top of our brown paper. So let's go ahead and cut this from our brown paper. We will need to activate the layer for the brown paper, right click, and may add alpha channel. Now we'll go up to the layer that has the text, right click, alpha to selection. So now we've selected the letters, return to our brown paper, and we're going to delete. If we hide the text layer, you see now that we cut out the brown. We can now see the blue underneath the brown. Let's go to select none, and there we have our cutout. we do need to add some dimension underneath this cutout. So what we're going to do is go to our layer palette and we're going to add a layer, filling it with the foreground color, which is black. Okay. We're going to return to our text layer, alpha to selection. We're going to cut the J and the T away from this black layer. Black layer is active. We'll delete. We're going to select none because when we add the blur to our black, if it's selected, the blur will not move past the selection. We're going to go to filters, go to blur, Gaussian blur. And we're going to make this to be approximately 20. So you'll see that. Look here at the J and the T. I'm going to turn off the preview and turn the preview back on. Let me pull this menu bar over here so you can see what I'm doing. Right here it says preview. So watch this. Off and on. So we just added some Gaussian blur just around all of the edges. I'm going to apply. I did this at 22. So we're going to say, okay, we're good with that. This would be an exact, it's blurred all the way around. There's no shadow effect. You can do whatever you want. If you want it to be exactly like that, you could also grab it, the layer, and you can adjust it if you want to make. So like I basically just went down a little bit so you can see that that really changed the way it looks. It's more pronounced at the upper. Let me just increase our magnification. So you see how that it's more pronounced up at the top. What if we drag like to the left and down a bit? Or if we could drag like that. So you play with it, you determine how you really want it. In order to get rid of the outer large black area, we'll return to our text layer. We'll right click, alpha to selection, go to our black layer, and we will invert the selection and delete. So now all we have remaining on that layer is the shadows. Look at there. See, if I hide the brown layer, then you see the black layer. So let's take a zoom out here and see what we've got going. At this point, let us go ahead and start from the bottom and add our dimension. So we will duplicate. Let's duplicate our brown paper and we're going to do our selection. We're going to feather and round our edges. Grab a square just inside the edges. We'll delete that inner part and then apply a mode multiply to what's remaining and reduce the opacity. Select none. Then the blue photo mat, let's duplicate that. Right click, alpha to selection, select feather, select shrink by 10, And let's delete the center portion and let's add a multiply to that edge. Then let's duplicate the brown layer, the title matte, alpha to selection. So it selected the outer edge as well as around the edges of our lettering. We'll do the same thing. We're going to select feather by 25 and select shrink by 10 and delete and multiply. So it made a nice little edge all the way around all of the cut areas of our paper. So we're now at the alpha to selection. We're at the photo, so we'll duplicate the photo. We alpha to selected it. We're going to feather and shrink to ink our edges. This on the photos, I use the difference as opposed instead of the multiply. And so I'm looking here, and what I would like to do is let's add a shadow to the photo. So I have the main photo layer active, light and shadow, drop shadow. I'm going to say okay. I'm going to add a shadow to the brown paper. So the large paper is active, filters, light and shadow, drop shadow. And now let's take a look at our brads. So I'm going to, in real life, the brad would be on the paper, kind of scrunching up the paper. So I want to duplicate that a tad bit. So I'm going to make one active. Okay, so this layer that is the layer, active layer. I can tell it's this brad here because it has the outline on it. So I'm going to go to the layer just below it. I'm going to add a new layer. I'm going to make it transparent. So we have a new layer, layer number 1. It's underneath our brad layer. I'm going to alpha to selection, the brad layer. Then I'm going to make this new layer, the active layer. I'm going to go to my fill tool and make it the foreground color. And I'm going to fill that area in the transparent layer with the black. Let me hide the brad layer and you can see what happened here. Earlier I mentioned the need to take away your selection before you add the Gaussian blur. Let me show you what would happen. Okay, so we selected a circle, we filled it with black. This is our active layer. If we go to filters and we go to blur, Gaussian blur, and we do our 20%, it did blur all of it, but it stayed inside our selection. Let's cancel. We're going to select none, filters, blur, Gaussian blur, 21%, and you see we have a blur that expanded beyond our initial selection. We're going to say, okay, let me put the brad. So now you can see that you can tell that it's pushing down onto the paper a little bit. If you feel like that's not enough, you can actually duplicate that layer and makes it a little bit deeper. So let us move up. We're moving up on our layer palette. We're adding a new layer, transparent. We're alpha to selection. Go to that layer, fill tool, fill with black, select none, filters, blur, Gaussian blur, approximately 20%. Okay. and then we want to duplicate that. And then this is the next brad up. That's this one. Add a layer. Alpha to selection. That selective layer. Select none. Filters. Blur. Gaussian blur. And then let's duplicate that. And then that's a corner. Where's our other brad? There we are. So there we have it. We have 4 brads with their shadows added to look like they're pushing down onto the paper. I'm really pleased with this layout. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and how I did it as much as I enjoyed doing it and creating the video. This completes my 6th layout. I have 46 more to go in this journey. I welcome you to subscribe to my channel if you'd like to join me in the journey. Information regarding the designers of papers and elements that I did use in the layout will be provided in the description box for the video. Is there something that you would like to add to your scrapbook page using GIMP and have not been able to figure it out? Let me know. Maybe we can figure it out together and I can share it with everyone else in a video. Have a great day. Blessings on you and your family as you make and preserve memories for the future generations through scrapbooking. Bye bye until next week.